We have
Hi.
video now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh,
Hey.
there.
Hi.
Hello.
We're all
Don't
here.
worry, we all had technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It's the rite of passage
Yeah.
with a Zoom call.
Yeah. So, Kim, I know you actually kind of do this kind of thing for a living. So, if you
For fun,
get the
yeah.
urge to like jump in and lead things, if you feel like we're going down a weird path, I encourage.
I'm good at taking things down weird paths.
I am only here to help if you guys need me. I know I think you guys got it. I am just here as I do have some questions that I always
Yes.
use for my show. So if you
Perfect.
guys need me or you just, have a lull or whatever, I'm happy to help out however, but I'm just here to help. So,
Yeah. Cool. Well, I figure we'll just start with some little introductions, and Corinne, obviously, you can go through and edit and cut and make us all seem like superstars, or really dumb if you'd prefer. You know,
don't, yeah.
I have a theater degree, so I'm used to it. But I'm Billie Bryant, so I'm the audiobook narrator. From Texas originally. I was actually born in New Orleans, but I grew up in East Texas, lived in Chicago and Brooklyn, and now I'm in Crestline, which is in the mountains of Southern California. Um, yeah, so I've been audiobook narrating for, gosh, 6 years. And before that, I did a lot of live voiceover for conferences and for events. And then I also do a little bit of anime and a little bit of video games and HR videos. I tell your coworkers not to touch each other. So yeah, that's me. And we've
Would you
got,
like me to go,
yeah,
Corinne?
yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. I'm Kim. I am a bookstagrammer. I also am in the medical field. I am from Texas also, East Texas also,
Nice.
which is crazy. And I do a live show twice a week where I interview voice actors and narrators. And then I also have another live show that I do with authors with another author that I'm friends with, D.E. Dietz. And so yeah, I'm on Instagram all the time.
Okay. I want to make sure this is recording. I had told it to record earlier. Oh no, it is. Perfect. I
Loudly,
just
it loudly announced to me that it was
good.
being recorded. It
Good.
Yeah,
scared
same.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. It's like watch it. All right. Thanks. Sorry. Crow, you
I
want to
guess,
jump up? Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'll go next. Hi, I'm Crow. I am in the wetlands of Eugene, Oregon. Um, and so I'm a musician by night. I'm doing some composing for uh, films, like short films, as well as doing my own projects. Uh, as well as I'm a big avid gamer, so I enjoy um, voice acting games and playing games. And at some point, I tried to make a game. That didn't happen. Uh, yeah, I don't really, I
You will
don't
one
talk
day.
about myself all that much.
All
I
right.
don't talk about myself that often either.
VIP though, you've got to. You're the
Hmm.
reason we're here.
I'm My online presence is Corinne. My name is Cassandra. I mostly just write. I'm not very exciting. I live in Washington, always have. Um, and I've been telling stories since I was, you know, I started writing at 13, but I started telling stories a lot younger than that. And I'm currently mid-move, so you get a very boring background full of outside patio furniture.
Nice. I like it though. I think you look adorable. So you've written 6 books,
Mhm.
right? So there's 5 in the Abandoned Crown series, and then the most recent one, which is Crossing the Line. And I guess, would you call it a prequel?
I do call it a prequel. I started it with the intention that it can be read on its own.
Yeah.
You don't have to read the Abandoned Crown series to read Crossing the Line. It is very fun to hear back from readers who have read the Crossing the Line series and then have done or have read the Abandoned Crown series and then have done Crossing the Line because they catch all the little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
It's also super fun for people who haven't read Abandoned Crown, I love hearing back from them because they have all these theories, and I know where this story's going.
Yeah.
Because it's Sienna's story, and she's a side character that showed up in my second book in the Abandoned Crown series, and then I just kind of wanted to know more about her, so she got her own book.
Yeah. My favorite sort of character to hate is Ayash. And I think because during the Abandoned Crown series, like I was like, he's kind of slimy, but I don't despise him. And now I'm like, oh, that guy.
Now you now
Oh.
you despise him. Yeah, because he's so much smaller in the
Yeah.
Abandoned Crown series. He's
Yeah.
only got probably 4 or 5 scenes. And I will be honest, you narrated him a lot slimier than I originally had in my head. And I mean, like, he wasn't great, but you made him so much worse. And I was like, oh, well, I can just run with this now.
Yeah.
Like, in Crossing the Line, I knew what voice he was getting, and I kind of leaned into that one.
Yeah. And it's also fun to do him a little bit younger in Crossing the Line.
I
Because
mean, it's
he's,
4,000 years
yeah,
difference.
he's
He's
a little different.
a
Yeah.
little bit younger, yeah.
When you were writing the first books, did you have a general sort of idea of where things were going, or did you just have like a handful of characters that were just yelling in your ear and they needed a story?
When I was writing the first books, honestly, I like Krista, Alice, like for Inhibited, Krista and Alice were like imaginary friends for a really long time. Corinne ended up popping up in there. I stole her name as my pen name because of reasons. And so I daydreamed about them quite a lot and their story. When I started Inhibited, I had zero plot. I had no plot. Originally, it was supposed to be set like real world and like hidden powers in the real world. And it ended up shifting into the world of Yaira. I ended up writing their language that they end up using and creating, my villain, the general, and that whole crap show on that side. And it's evolved, but when I started it, it had no direction at all.
Yeah. So anyone who hasn't read them yet, hopefully everyone has, but if not, get on it. Um, Corinne created an entire universe with its own language, its own seasons. Um, how, talk a little bit about creating that language because I find that to be so impressive. I mean, I'm blown away by it, to be honest.
The language actually, I've based it off of like a mix of Portuguese and French. So I've structured it like ASL. The sentence structure is like ASL. I took that in college. I have some of my really close friends are interpreters, and I've just been really fascinated with ASL, which is why Krista in Inhibited actually ended up using some signs with Peter. Although I don't specify what they are because they wouldn't be the same as in this world.
Yeah.
And I originally, when I was young and crazy, I sat down with the dictionary and I was like, I'm just gonna create a word for every single word. And I got to like B, and then I was like, this is too much. I'm not doing this. So now I will admit, like, I have a pretty extensive dictionary. It's pretty good whenever I add words. I usually have them, but if I don't, I just create them on the spot. Like I'm not worried about filling in those gaps. When I get to a word that I need, I will put it in bold in my draft,
Hmm.
bold letters, and then I'll go back and I'll look up if I don't already know it, I'll look up the French and Portuguese word for it and I'll kind of figure out what I would kind of want the arid word to be, and then I translated into my weird letters. But I will say, Crow, I have recruited as my swear word expert. So any of the swear words, he has inspired a lot of them. I will message him sometimes and be like, hey, by the way, I need this, English swear word in Arid or in RAC because he helped a lot with the RAC language. And so
Yeah.
I have deferred to him on the swear words.
It's amazing. Um, so something I do when I'm narrating is I will go through, and when you haven't provided the full like translation, I'll write out the translation for myself in English, and I'll record it in English first, and then I'll write it phonetically, and then I'll perform it a second time in the language because I want it to be more than just, saying it phonetically correct. I want that feeling to be behind it. So I should send you
And when
all those those
Yeah,
outtakes.
you should. I'd love to hear that. When you did Inhibited, actually, I do remember there's at the end there's a scene where Chris is going off and it's like a speech in a whole other language. And I was nervous. Like I was nervous for you. I was like, oh, I feel really bad that I gave her like an entire speech in another language. And you had messaged me asking what the definition of some of the words were, and one of them wasn't in my dictionary. One of them I had just created and never added in, and I was like, I have no idea like what this word was supposed to be. But I pretended that I did. And then
Yeah.
you sent back the recording, and I was like, I was quite impressed with how it turned out because you just went for it and it sounded like a real language. I've never heard my language out loud. I don't say the words out loud. I just say them in my head. So it's been very fun to have the audio and hear how you would say them. There are some times when I'm like, what? Why is she saying it that way? And I'm like, oh no, that is how it would be said. I'm just saying it wrong.
Yeah, well, and occasionally she has to send me a voice memo because I'm like, I'm just not getting this pronunciation right. And you've got such a crystalline vision in your head of how it should be that you're like, I can't get away with making something up. You're just like, nope, that's not right. Let me.
There are some where I'm like, that's not right, but it's fine. There are just some. No, 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 because it sounds better. It sounds better the way you've done it. But there are some where I'm like, that's perfectly fine and acceptable, but it just isn't quite how I hear it, and it's gonna
Yeah.
bug me. So I do correct that. But a lot of them, and like characters too. Some of the characters I'll hear, like the general and Inhibited, like starting that one out, and I'm like, that is not at all how I pictured that character. I don't know if I should say something. And then like a chapter or two later, I'm like, nope, that's exactly what that
Yeah.
character would sound like. I've just been picturing them wrong.
Man, he was such a challenge. Because
You did a good job with him though.
oh, thank you. And it's tough to voice male characters without it coming across as too cartoony. It's such a fine line. And some people don't like when you put on character voices for audiobooks. Some people love it, some people don't. Um, I think for anything fantasy related, there's got to be that really clear um, defining characteristics for them. But I don't know. What are your feelings on that?
I'm from
I
the romance community, so everybody has to have a voice and
Yeah.
everybody has to have so there is no substitutes. You cannot have the same. No one would put up with that. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of old school radio dramas,
Yeah.
which effectively are the same thing as an audiobook, just
Hmm.
like tailor made for radio. So I'm of the same mindset of like everybody has to have a voice. I'm also the kind of person that would take it a step further and add music and sound effects and just make a whole production out of it.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And that's really coming into popularity right now too, like graphic audios and audiobooks with sound
Yeah.
effects and music and things like that. So those are really popular right now. And they are making more of them all the time. So,
Yeah. Audio dramas are big.
hmm
And they have such huge productions behind them too. Like
huge.
I typically do my own editing and mastering. Some audiobook narrators don't, but I do. But for audio dramas, there's a whole team.
Oh yeah, there's a whole team. It's effectively like a small film production,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
for uh, the audio drama. I've produced my own for a practicum in college, and that was a lot, a lot of elements to try to get together.
Yeah. Does anybody want to throw a question into the mix? I've got some, if not, but and I know Kim, you've got some as well.
I always have questions. I have started Crossing the Line, but I have not been able to finish it yet just because I have so much audio on my plate right now. But um, I have enjoyed, and I did not know, Corinne, that you created that whole language. That is absolutely insane. So, yeah, so can you talk a little bit about how I know you've talked a little bit about how she leads you through that, but how do you go through that, like look at those words and not only figure out how to pronounce it, but then also how to portray that character? I mean, that's like a lot of a lot of work and a lot of processing between your brain and a mic.
Yeah. A lot of it is in the sort of pre-work that I do. So I go through and I read the books first. I have a spreadsheet. Every time I come across a new word, I'll like copy and paste it over there. I'll find the definition. I'll find if we've used it before, I usually have like a good idea of how the word is said. Although occasionally there's one that just slips my mind. I have to really hunt for it. Um, and as far as like the character development, when I'm reading it, she is so good at describing a person. I feel like I know them. I feel like I've met
Mhm.
them and I have an idea of what I want vocally. A trick I do, and poor Corinne occasionally has found it where I don't edit it out. I will often say a character's name in their voice, and that'll help me get back into a person, like if I'm kind of losing it. Um,
Oh,
but I don't always edit them out. So she occasionally will
I
catch
love it.
those.
I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Yeah.
Because it makes me smile. And sometimes it's in the middle of a pretty
Oh,
tough
yeah.
scene, so it's quite fun to like break for a minute and just like
Yeah.
laugh and then go back to the intensity.
Yeah. And
that's
Sienna in
hilarious.
particular, she's got one line that I say over and over again, which is, "Come on, Jess." And it's her talking to a character that hasn't been around for a couple of books because he's, spoiler alert, frozen. In something. You'll have to explain that if you want, or people just read it and figure it out. Um, but it's that one line because she cares for this boy so much that always brings me back to the heart of Sienna because she is a mother through and through. And yeah, because you wrote her that way.
That's how she started,
Yeah.
was mothering. Actually, mothering Jess is how the character came about, is I needed a safe place for Jess to go for a little while. And so I
Yeah.
created Sienna, and then she took over.
She's like, I'm prominent in this story, and you
Yeah.
I'm
can't
suddenly
stop
the main
me.
character
Deal
now, and
with
I
it.
get my own series now, and it's fine. I love
That's
Sienna, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. She's wonderful and tragic and
Yeah.
hilarious. And yeah. And I like how um sexually free she is. I think you have done such a good job with creating these complex women, and between her and Krista and their sort of backstories and how they handle their trauma and their joy, they're completely different women, and I really appreciate that for both of them. And I think
It's
readers do
been
too.
Yeah, it's been really quite fun to explore the difference between Krista and how she handles crap, and Sienna and how she handles crap, and even Corinne in the main series and how she handles, because they all handle their crap differently.
Yeah.
And it's been very fun to be like, you can heal in different ways. You can process things differently. One person's, journey is not going to look like the other person's.
Yeah. How much of
And
yourself, without getting too personal, do you pull into these characters?
Krista is very much me. She is a very large reflection of me, to the point where my husband, because he listens to the audio, he waits for the audios to come out and he listens to them in the car with me so that he can shoot me side eyes. Um, And it's to the point where he, like, different things will be in there and he'll just look over at me. He's like, "Okay, Krista," or
Mm.
I'll do something in the kitchen or whatever, and he'll say that. She's quite the reflection of me, even though I took Corinne's pen name. And there are threads of me in Sienna, not nearly as much. Her hatred of lavender is me, though. I can't stand lavender.
Oh, that's
Gives me a
funny.
migraine.
Has your husband made it into a character yet?
He's Peter. He's a
Oh.
like, which is so funny because I wrote Peter before I met my husband. But yeah, no, he's very much Peter. There's bits of him in the other good male characters, which I don't have a lot of, but there's bits of him in like Seeley and then I completely go blank on any other good male characters that I have. But he's very much Peter in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
it works out.
Oh.
Actually, for Halloween, he dressed up as Peter. We didn't go out or anything, but he dressed up as Peter.
Oh. Well, I need to see pictures of that for
You
sure.
manifested him. You
Yeah, you
manifested him
wrote
I
in
him
your
into
book.
existence.
I did. I knew what I wanted.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Crow, what about you? You have any thoughts or questions?
Uh, my brain just shut down as soon as you asked that.
Too much pressure.
No pressure. I am staring at a list of questions and none of them are right. Um, I guess I'm the fun question per well, all these questions are fun, but the sillier questions. So, who would you say is your favorite character to voice and who's the least?
Ooh, oh gosh. I think my favorite is probably Corinne because she's the most vocally similar to me. But she's younger, obviously. I just
Mhm.
love kind of how catty she is, and because she's young, and I like that her worldview is only what she's experienced, and there's so much to her that she doesn't even remember. But I like how catty she is. I like her finding herself, and especially in the most recent Abandoned Crown series, I like that she's really starting to figure out who she is if she's not the general's wife. She's not, you know, the daughter of an ambassador to a town anymore, and like who is she as a queen, as a person. Um, so I think she's my absolute favorite person to voice. And my least favorite, even though he's the most fun, is probably Ayash because I have to go to a place inside of myself that I don't like. I don't like him, but he is a person and he doesn't think he's evil. He thinks he's very justified. So, you know, going into the head of someone who can do such gross things and be fine with it and be like, well, of course, I'm owed
Mm,
this. I am owed this.
yeah.
So,
That's
He's my
tough.
least favorite to write too. Well,
yeah,
actually, I hated writing Jacob and Inhibited, but Aosh is my least favorite now.
yeah.
Did you have to, so you said that the main character in this book was a character in a shorter character in one of the other books. So did you have to bring back an old voice that you weren't necessarily planning on bringing back, or did you try to have continuity between the two books with the voice that you used for that character?
Because he was so specific in my mind, I brought him back and I just de-aged him a bit. I, but he's still smarmy. If anything, more smarmy now because he hasn't had a life of failures and in front of him.
Hmm.
Everything's
Yeah.
just been cake, and he likes his cake.
Well, one thing that you did really well too is in Abandoned Crown, I have a side character who's horrible as a healer. And
Oh,
he's old. He's old in that series. He's like, well, several thousand years old. And you do such a good gross job at him because he's just a horrible character.
yeah,
But he shows up as a little Easter egg in Crossing the Line. And it's not a spoiler. It was just an Easter egg I tossed in
yeah,
there, but he shows up in there and he's 12 or 6, I don't
yeah.
remember
He's a
what I wrote
kid.
because it's changed a couple times as I wrote it, but he's young, he's a child, and he's not evil yet. And you did a very good job aging him down, making him not evil, and still making him recognizable. I knew right away who it was, even though he's a baby.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's. I love voicing your books. I have a stage background, and so I feel like they're acting exercises, and I get to really throw myself into this and, you know, talk to myself, which is kind of the actor's dream to just play every character. Yeah. So thanks.
It's
Yeah,
been
that's a
very
compliment.
fun.
It's a
It
very big compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so fun to have them on audio because I swore up and down for years that I would never have my books on audio, and if I did, I would never listen to them because I don't like hearing my writing read back to me. It makes me cringe. But when you do the audio, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the characters have been brought to life and they're just like sitting there telling me their story. And so actually like cuz Billy sends me the unedited chapters and I'll listen to them and make sure that the words are right or, different things and make notes. And that's my favorite part because I have an excuse to listen to it like 5 or 6 times. I love doing that.
Oh,
Yeah, you seem like a pretty meticulous writer, so I can see where going through that audio would be super fun for you to like just kind of pick out little things that you're like, oh, okay, pick
Yeah.
that out.
I have a ton of fun doing it. It's very
Yes.
fun.
yeah. So Crow, you're one of the alpha readers, correct? You get
Yeah.
to listen and read before. So who is your favorite character to kind of turn that back around?
Oh goodness. I It's tough because there's so many characters that when they were first being brought to life in the audio compared to reading them in the paper book, that I kind of would have different answers because just in the paper book, I I warmed up to the oh gosh, the captain. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
it was kind of like a slow burn, but I warmed up very
Pros and
quickly.
cons.
Yeah, to the captain, because it was kind of this push and pull relationship of like, are they good? Are they bad? Where is he on that scale? I love complex characters like that and kind of the subversion of expectations. But I would have to say in the audio, I really love the way that you do Krista. Uh, the I didn't really know what to expect auditorially with Krista's voice, but the way that you portray emotion and frustration when she's trying to navigate is just so good.
Well, thank you. I feel like it's the writing, though. I mean, it's easy to get into her because she's so well-roundedly written. She is not a two-dimensional character.
Mhm.
And she was
I
fun. Her voice is a little bit weird. Not weird. It's different because the direction of her voice originally had almost like a Russian sort of tinge to it, and I didn't steer into that too heavily, except for like flashbacks, because I'm like, well, she strikes me as someone that she's been working really hard to erase who she was, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
Yeah.
really liked that direction because I wasn't expecting an accent when she was young, and it's actually like helped me put accents into different regions in the world because the world builds as I go. It
yeah,
just keeps like evolving. And so you gave her an accent, and I was like, all right, well, she's from Havenden. People from Havenden now have accents
yeah.
because I didn't want to discourage it. I was like, I will write it into the story. It will work.
Well, and something coming from somebody that's kind of like on the outside looking in, it helps me as a reader kind of be able to distinguish between the air raid Krista and the Queen Krista, in my mind they are kind of two different flavors.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. She's got a lot. She's got a lot going on.
A lot going on. I put a lot on her shoulders right at once.
Yeah, no kidding. My God, that
That's my
first book, there were so many points where I was just like, what the absolute heck is going on?
I had
Why?
I had a reader describe, and I don't have it like word for word, but they had sent me a message and they're like, man, those first like 3 chapters of Inhibited is like you're running into a burning building full of screaming people and the roof is collapsing around you, and then somebody hands you a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pretty
that
much.
is the
Yeah.
most accurate description of Inhibited.
It's chaos. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and I just went with it.
yeah. I love maybe I don't want to give too much away, but I like that names have such power, that knowing someone's real name.
Mhm.
That was a concept that has been from the beginning. A lot of things have been redone, but that has just been a thread throughout the whole thing because I do think that, names have power and, meanings behind and, I wanted to expand on that in a universe where it was a little bit more intense.
Yeah. If there was one little sort of Easter egg that you put in just for yourself that you think people are like maybe not catching, What would be like a little fun Easter egg for everybody?
Um, a little Easter egg, and one person did catch it. My bonus dad caught it, and he didn't know. He'll watch this and he'll be like, "I caught that." He in Inhibited, Krista is going through, it's a flashback, and she's going through what she's learned of all the different arid races. And she's going through the Yordine and that they have power over air and wind and or air and earth and water. And then she keeps going, and he's like, "You forgot fire." And he kept going on and on, "You forgot fire. Fire's not in there. You don't have fire in there." And then I wrote Crossing the Line, and come to find out that fire is not a given power. None of them are given the power of fire. They have to reject the powers that they have been given, and they will burn and become fire.
Wow. I love it. Yeah.
Yep. So
And I,
any of them that are fire powered were something else beforehand.
yeah. And I like that you have to reject who you are, man, and just, yeah, you just really have to hate yourself
Because
to burn.
because I was looking at it and I was like, okay, air is creating, it creates, and water creates, and earth creates. Fire destroys, it is
Yeah.
destruction. And so
It
I kind of
consumes.
wanted to play on, yeah, it'll consume a person if they reject who they are. And the Antvara and the Cheville they have different things if they reject their power, since one is time manipulator, one is a shapeshifter. Obviously they're not rejecting an element power.
Yeah.
Their burn wouldn't be elements, but I haven't revealed what those corruptions are
Yeah.
yet.
That's one of my favorite things is the time manipulators. And I love this person who's just been like living in all these different times. And I don't know, I love that
That's
character.
not at all confusing to write ever.
No, I
It
imagine.
never gets complicated time travel stuff. Or like the ones that live in bubbles for hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds of years and then pop out. I'm like, I don't know why I did that to myself. I love it. That's why I did it to myself, but I don't know why I did that.
It's cool. I mean, and it gives you so many opportunities for mischief that
Oh, for
they,
sure.
Yeah.
So much mischief.
yeah.
So much mischief.
How long have you been writing the series, Corinne?
Well, I started Inhibited when I was 13. It was the first book that I started writing, and then I set it aside for a really long time. Um, because I just didn't know where I wanted it. I had the characters. I didn't know where I wanted it to go. And then I went to college and was bored. So instead of taking notes, I wrote Inhibited in like 7 notebooks and then put it on the computer when I got home. And it just kind of evolved from there. So that would be, I graduated college in 2015. So I started in 2012. I would say probably I started writing, and I started it when I was 13, but I really started it seriously in 2012.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very complex and uh, complex world, and I can't imagine how much it's taken you to build all of these things into this universe that you've created.
Yeah.
It's fairly consuming. My husband has learned that like I have to make eye contact, or I'm not listening. And half the time I'm not listening anyway because I'm trying to figure out some kind of plot hole, or I'm working through a scene. There's a scene that I'm working on now for Bound for Sorrow, which is the second Crossing the Line, and I've been working on it for weeks because I know where I want it to go and I cannot get there. So I just add a sentence a day, and the rest of the day is just me being frustrated.
Yeah.
They're not cooperating, they're not doing what I want them to. They'll get there.
Um, if you could live sort of in the worlds you've created for like one day, where would you go and like what would you do? Who'd you hang out with?
Who would I hang out with? Not the general. I would probably like the air raid aren't a lot better. I don't know if they would accept me into their life. I would actually as weird as it's gonna sound, since she isn't a huge character yet, I would totally go hang out with Madame Titaya,
Yes.
from Shattered and Inscribed. She shows up a little bit later, but she is a fascinating character, and I am very sorry. She's getting her own point of view in book 6. So you have another one to add to your
That's
roster, but
great.
she'll be fun.
I love
She's
her.
cool. But yeah, I would probably want to hang out with her, getting to know her backstory, which I'm not going to reveal here, but getting like writing her point of view, working on it, and like seeing how she's functioning inwardly.
Hmm.
She's just a maddeningly fascinating character. I don't know how much I would love hanging out with her, since she is a mind reader.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it would be fine. I don't have that many secrets.
She's such a badass. I like her. I like her
Yeah,
development and I like the way she treats her gals. Um, so yeah.
yeah. She's very protective of her girls. Because I see some depictions of, brothels and the heads of brothels being quite cruel to their girls. And I've seen some that are very good and quite protective, but I wanted one that was like kind of like she's doing it because she has to, essentially, like this is the job that she has to have, and she's going to make sure that it is as safe as possible. It's not safe, but it's as safe as possible.
Yeah. She's great. Who's your biggest crush? Do you have a crush on anybody?
I have a crush on Seeley. I
Yeah.
know my
He's
husband is
crushable.
Peter, but I have a crush on Seeley, and I've had so much fun writing him and Crossing the Line, because you get such a different version of him in it.
Yeah.
And I was really worried. I was worried writing him because he's witty and he's sarcastic, and I'm not. But he's done fine. He's doing great. I do love him. Weirdly, I also love, and again, he's so small. It's hard because I know them all like background. So
Hmm.
they're small in the book, but I know them. I really love Ari, which is Krista's father-in-law.
Yeah.
Um, I I based him. This is an embarrassing confession. I based him off of the Rigoletto movie from Focus Films or Focus on the Family or something, um, which was like my childhood movie of this guy who moves into this mansion in this really poor town, and his face is all scarred up, and he's just cruel. He's just mean. And this girl starts cleaning his house and insists on him teaching her how to sing because she hears him singing, and he kind of softens up throughout the film. And I had the biggest crush on him as a kid. I was like, that I like him a lot, which might lead to my obsession with Phantom of the Opera later. But I really liked that character, and so I put like the nice version of him in my books as kind of an homage to him, and so he is the musician in my books.
Yeah. I like him. He's very sweet and he's
Mhm.
charming.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I don't know how Willick showed up from that guy though.
I don't know. It's a bad apple. He was a real
He's a
bad
bad
apple.
apple.
He's dead. We don't have to worry
Yeah, we
about
don't
it.
worry about him.
Yeah,
He's out of
He
here.
died
Willick doesn't matter.
chapter 1.
Before I forget, let me post. I want to show we've got where the retail spaces. So I want to put that up on the screen really quick and get that. So I'm gonna share it. And I'll just leave it up for a couple of seconds while we're talking, but these are all the places. Now, is this just crossing the line or is this also the
This,
rest of the inhibited?
this is just Crossing the Line. Right now we're still exclusively contracted with the Abandoned Crown series to Amazon.
Okay.
Um, I would probably be willing to discuss moving those out of the exclusivity and over to this. I didn't want to broach that until I knew how this would do, so that I could be like, look, this is successful. We should do this. But
Yeah.
right now it's just Crossing the Line over here, which I'm mostly excited that it will be like available on Hoopla and Overdrive and like library things, so that people can check it out if they don't have the funds. Right now things are really tight in the world, and I want it to be accessible, even when it's not accessible.
Yeah. I'll leave that up for a couple more seconds. Um, What does like a typical day look like for you when you're writing?
Um, a typical day writing, it really kind of just depends on the day, but oftentimes I'll get up, I do Bible study with in the morning and I'll get my coffee and stuff and just spend some time with God in the morning and then I will either do whatever assigned chore I've figured out for that day, housework wise. And then I actually have a white noise app on my phone and I will turn on some white noise, set it for 30 minutes. That's good. And I will write for 30 minutes and then I'm allowed to go play a video game or do something, but I'll set a timer to do that. And then I'll come back and I'll write for 30 minutes. Because I've found that if I'm like, okay, I'm free all day today, I'll just write all day. I won't, I will sit at my computer completely like zoning out, daydreaming, not writing. And I will get like nothing done all day long. If I set the timer and the white noise, I will get probably 1,000 words written in that time. Um, and then I am free to go do something else. Because
Yeah.
I love writing. I want to write. It is the pretty much only thing I think about all the time is just the characters and where the story is going. But sitting out down and actually doing it is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I
I'm
like
glad.
editing more than I like drafting.
Yeah. Uh, I'm glad you mentioned that you faith is a big part of your life. And I feel like even though the books have such a fantastical edge that I feel like I can read your faith through it. That some of your storyline, like it's to me very clear that there's a spiritual um, through line that I like maybe because I know you a little bit, but I feel like when I read it, I'm like, oh, there's God. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the story started off very much kind of based off when I was coming up with what I kind of wanted the plot to be. And I wasn't trying to think of a plot, I was just trying to think of what would the motivation of these characters be.
Yeah.
And it very much started off as kind of a depiction of the war between angels and demons over the human race. That's
Okay.
how it started. And then I was like, I gotta veil this. This is too much in your face. I gotta like tone it down a bit. But as I've written it, it's come out more and more. And my editor actually has mentioned, she's like, this feels more like an apology. This feels more like an apology from um a lot of the misconceptions of Christianity and the cruelties that are in there. And a lot of people, like I've seen the posts online and stuff of like some horrific thing and it's like, oh, there's no love like Christian love or something like that. And I'm like, that's the reputation that Christians have gotten at this point. And I really wanted to show a depiction as the book has evolved. And honestly, I don't plot. I don't have any plot at all. It's just the characters are doing their thing. But as the story's evolved, it's really kind of shown um, kind of the difference between, in my opinion, biblical faith versus kind of what the American church is like right now. Um, but and my husband sees that too when he's reading them. He's like, oh, that's definitely the Pharisees right there. Like the Arian elder are definitely Pharisees who were not the good guys. They were not the good guys, and they're still not. But as I have grown older and explored my faith a little bit more and gotten kicked out of two churches, um, I've I've kind of more cemented where I feel like my relationship with God it fits best and tried to portray that as best as I could in the books.
Yeah. And that's not to
But
say
not
that
in your face.
they're not churchy. I don't like,
No,
but
I try to
yeah.
make it very much not in your face. If you
Yeah.
catch the allegory,
Yeah.
fine. If you don't, it's not really supposed to be the point of the story. It's
Right.
just part of my life, and so I
It's
end up
who
putting
you
it
are,
into the
and
books.
it
Yeah.
breeds through because it's something important to you, um, and because these characters are you,
Yeah.
it comes through, but not in certainly not a
Not
hit
in
you
a
over the
preachy
head
way.
type way. Not at all. No.
And I definitely I do assign my editor sometimes. I'm like, you need to make sure that this is not like hitting people over the head and kidnapping them, kind of,
Right.
preaching
Yeah.
in your face. You need to tone this down. Most of the time I'm messaging her like, make this worse, make this hit harder. And then I'm like, don't make this worse.
Yeah.
Tone this down a little bit.
Is there anything without, giving away too much? Can we have like a sneaky little preview of where things are headed?
In Crossing the Line or
Mm-hmm.
in Abandoned Crown?
Both. I'll take them both.
Both. Okay. Abandoned Crown is headed. I have had so much fun working on book 6. I have set it aside to work on Bound for Sorrow, but I was working on it a little bit while Crossing the Line was being edited. And so, like, forever ago. But I have a fair amount of it written. And it has been very fun to explore a specific character who has kind of figured out a little bit more about who they are. They had maybe lost a little bit of their memory, and they've now kind of figured out where they're at and what's going on. And it has been quite traumatic and very tragic to explore how other people who don't want them to know who they are uh, react to knowing that that secret's out. It's also been quite fun to explore Corinne because we left her and Inscribed rather pissed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she is ready to burn the world down in the next book. And that's not great, but it's been really fun. She's gonna make so many bad choices, and I am here for it. It's going to
Yeah.
be great. But for Bound for Sorrow, it's in the title. People should not be surprised, but it's in the title. It's not going well. Um, those that have read the Abandoned Crown series know where Sienna's story will end up. They know what choices she's going to end up making, and they know what her job is going to end up being. And in Bound for Sorrow, that is the transition from Sienna and Crossing the Line into eventually Sienna and Abandoned Crown, because they're the same person, but they're vastly different people. They have gone through so much between, one and the other. And it has been very, very delicate to handle that transition and show the reasoning behind it, behind the choices that she ends up making and the tragedies that follow. I thought Inscribed was going to be my darkest book, and this one might be close or worse.
Wow.
Whoops. My bad.
Yeah, you seem real broken up about it, Chris.
Yeah.
I've cried twice writing this one, and I've never cried writing my books. I've cried listening to the audio, but I've never cried writing them, except I've cried twice in this one.
Yeah. Oh, man. Ugh.
Yeah. Brace yourself.
I'm
Sorry.
excited, but I'm also like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Get the tissues ready.
This is so silly, but I have to tell you, because of your books now, like I like to collect rocks because, of course, I do. And I like to pick up a handful of rocks and imagine which ones are dragon eggs because of your
That
books.
actually, that stemmed. I was at the beach with my husband, and there was a bunch of tiny little rocks, and some of them were agates, which when you hold
Yeah.
them up to the sun, they
Yeah.
just kind of light up. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if those were dragons? And that's how that started. I actually still have that picture. I took a picture of my hand with those rocks, and I was like, yes, this is how dragons are in this world, is they're just agates that are hidden in rocks. And we're mid-move, so now my husband gets to move all of the rocks that I
Oh,
have collected over the years.
yeah. My house is essentially a quarry. I have so many rocks. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. It's his fault. He takes me rock hounding.
yeah.
So he did this. And I have less rocks than I have books, which he's already packed and weighed. And I don't want to admit how many it was.
We're getting kind of close to the end of time. So if anybody wants to like jump in with a question or two.
You ask a lot of my questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. Those are common. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good. They're good questions. No, I mean, this, I guess.
I've got a question if you
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to just sit here and yeah.
what has been so far between Abandoned Crown and Crossing the Line the hardest scene for you to voice?
Hmm. I think the hardest scene is with Sienna's children without giving away too much, but when they, oh, I'm gonna cry even thinking about it. They just want to give her a hug. Like that was a
Hmm.
really uh, emotional, beautiful scene to voice, and um, anything that's particularly violent, that's hard. Like putting yourself in that really dark place, um, and anything that's super sexy because when you're by yourself in your booth and you're getting in, but you don't want it to feel salacious.
Hmm.
That's a hard line to like find the romance and the eroticism without it being like gross. And there are some people
Yeah.
that that's their bread and butter is doing erotica, and it's a difficult thing to narrate. And so kudos to those people that's 100% what they do. But for me, I think the hardest is again like the kids feeling that absolute heartbreak of wanting to see your parents again. Uh my own dad passed when I was pretty young, and so pulling from that and remembering just that wanting one more goodbye that has meaning.
How long does it take you to prep one of Corinne's books before you really feel like you can get started?
So after I do the initial read and I write some notes for myself where I flag anything that I think is going to be hard. I don't always record in order. There are chapters that I save for dead last because I'm like, this is going to be a heavy lift. So I want to get through the stuff that I know I can do. Like most, honestly, because I like Corinne so much, I record a lot of her first. She feels she's sassy and she's fun and she's bitchy and I love it. And I also like that she gets to be angry. There's not a lot of times in my life where I get to completely let myself be outraged at something and act on it. So I like to do her stuff first and then I go back through. Um, and Krista, she's hard. She frequently gets pushed a little bit further back because her trauma is so deeply personal. Um, and then it's funny with the general, I'm sorry, the captain, he's he he's last often. Not only is he vocally difficult at times, but he's messed up so much. Um, and he's dealing with it and he has such guilt, and that's a really hard thing to act through and feel. Um, so yeah. Sorry, that's such a long answer, I guess.
No,
But
No, yeah,
I
I
love long
appreciate it.
answers. I love long answers. That means you're really thinking about it. And,
Hmm.
solo narration is really difficult. It's not something that a lot of authors choose to do, especially in the space that I am in right now. So I do think it's especially difficult and tough. And yeah, I mean, it takes a really strong narrator to be able to basically carry the whole book. So kudos to you for that.
thank
That's
you.
it's a
Thank you.
big deal.
Cool. Well, we're at time. Does anybody want to do one more question before we scoot out or shout something out? Just like your favorite thing, your least favorite person. Um,
Liosa. Liosa is my
oh,
least favorite person.
oh man,
Yeah.
she's
And
so
you've done her
rotten.
so well. She
Yeah.
was she was another voice when she showed up in Inscribed. I was like, that is not how I pictured
Yeah.
her.
She's
And then
kind of
it it
cutesy and grandma,
it
but she's
bugged me.
rotten.
It bugged me for the first chapter, and I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna make her like this is such a friggin' long book. I'm not gonna make her redo it, like whatever. And then as I've listened, I'm like, nope, that's definitely her. You've nailed her, and she's horrible, and I hate her. But I love how you've done her.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you do her really well. And there's been so many times I've just texted Corinne like, Lyosa, oh my God, I just want to chuck her out the window
Yeah.
going 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
She's the worst.
She is the
That's
worst.
She's on par with Aosh, honestly, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
They're two peas in a pod.
Mm-hmm.
When I
that's one
started
thing that
writing
I or go ahead. Go ahead, Corinne. Go ahead.
when I started writing Crossing the Line, I was worried that I wouldn't have, a villain. The general's not in it, and she fixed that problem for me.
Yeah. Problem solved.
So,
I
so what
feel
were you
like
saying, Kim?
Oh, I was just going to say that's one thing that I really harp on a lot when I talk to, narrators and authors is that how special and different the audiobook experience is and can be. Um, and it's like Crow was saying earlier, his favorite character when he read the book was this, and then once he listened to it, it was something completely different. And I think it's the only space where we have the opportunity to have two completely different experiences with the same source material. And so it is such a special medium. And I love that more indie authors and more authors are getting the opportunity to put their books into audio and have them presented to more people that way because it is really great for the community in general. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that Billy has signed on for this mini book project because like I said, I swore I was never going to have my books on audio, and weird, but in 2020 my dad had ALS and he was, very close to the end, and I was just sitting by his bed waiting. And I was like, all right, I worked at the library and somebody had come in and been like, my book is on audio. I did it through ACX and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm just gonna check it out. I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything, I'm just waiting. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna check it out. And I didn't put my book up for audition or anything. I was just listening to samples, and I listened to 7 pages of samples, and I was like, none of these, like, nope, I could not do these. And then I don't even remember what the sample was, but I listened to one of Billy's samples and I like pulled it up in a different window, and my mom had been out, which is why I was monitoring my dad, and she got home and I was like, listen to this, and I like played the sample and she's like, oh, that's Krista. Like, I know, right? And then so I emailed Billy, and when I emailed her, I was like, there is no way she's gonna say yes. She's gonna turn me down. Like, she's gonna laugh in my face. And I'm so glad you did not.
Me too. It's become work that it's probably I'm most proud of this work. Like I tell people about them and I love it. And I think it's made me a better narrator working on your pieces.
Oh, you've done a great job with them.
Thank
I
that's a
always look
compliment.
forward to the audio. It's my favorite part. I always tell people, I'm like, if you can do audiobook, do the audio. It's so much better than the ebook, like, or the physical book. I know some people can't do audio, and that's fine. But if you can do audio, get the audiobooks. They're so much better.
Yeah.
I
Look
will
at you with
say
your little 180.
I will say for me personally, it's allowed me to digest the written form so much easier because now instead of having to imagine what these characters sound like, I can just draw from the audiobook like, oh, I already know what the general sounds like. I know what Krista
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah.
And the characters that have yet to be introduced if I'm reading something further ahead. I'll create a voice and then it becomes a game of, oh, what does this
How
character sound
similar.
like?
Oh, that's
Exactly,
So
yeah.
your
fun.
guess.
Like
Hmm.
I have yet to go through crossing the line. I know bad. I should have already, but when I do, it's going to be fun seeing the characters that I haven't heard yet. Be like, oh, well,
Mhm.
let's say, how similar are they?
Yeah. That's I
Yeah.
love that. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you think of someone, I would love to know the sharpest contrast between what you imagined and what you heard. And then also like conversely, which person you were like, that's exactly what I heard.
I would say like my initial response to that. I'll have to go back and re-listen to some things just to kind of compare and contrast. But Fennel was
Oh,
was
I
an
love Fennel.
You
interesting.
did a great job with Fennel. He's not at
He's
all what
my
I
crush.
pictured.
He's my crush. I
I
love
forgot
him.
about Fennel. Can I add him to my crush list? There's too many characters.
Yeah.
Just
I do love him
superimpose
too.
like a lower third of like Corinne's crushes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're out of time, but this has been such fun. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Kim and Crow, and also fun Corinne, to just like sit and pick your brain a little bit. And so much
Yeah,
of
not
our
just
stuff is like,
text.
yeah, texting. And I get frequently, her husband will make memes, and I get sent memes during the recording process, and I love them.
He's fluent in memes. He's
Hmm.
very good at them.
Hmm.
Me too.
Well, guys, it's
Have
been
you
a
seen my
pleasure.
Have you
Oh, go
seen
ahead.
my gift reviews, Corinne?
I have. I've seen a couple of them.
Well, now you'll have to send them to me. I have to see them.
Yeah, I've done like a series of reviews where I just do gifts. That's all, the whole review. And it's like story, audio, and then I review like the different voices, and people like them, and they're easy for me because I'm so behind on reviews. So it's like an easy way for me to put content out without writing,
Yeah.
a page of text. So yeah,
Oh,
they've been fun.
Kim, give a shout out. Where can we hear your podcast?
Oh, so
Yeah.
I have a live show on Instagram.
Okay.
Sometimes it's on Instagram, sometimes it's on TikTok, depends on my subject and where they prefer. I allow both, but I do also post on my YouTube channel, which is just Little Miss Kim Reads a Lot. That's my YouTube name. That's my handle for everything. You can find me anywhere with that. So
Awesome. And
I
Crow,
do
do you
shows
have
on
anything?
Wednesdays and Fridays. So
Yeah. I'm going to look it up. I want to hear them. Crow, is there anything you want to give, like a little shameless plug for yourself?
Yeah, I'm known as Sawbasket on all platforms. I do a lot of instrumental music, although I'm starting to dabble more into stuff with lyrics. So check me out. I kind of make dark satire music. So Tenacious
Nice.
D meets Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
If you
oh, I
join
love
my
that.
Yeah.
if you join my Discord, sometimes Crow puts some of the songs that he's worked on in there.
That is
Then
true.
you get to listen to them.
That's
Okay.
a great comparison, by the way. I love that. I love that mashup. That's great.
I I specifically chose those because they are some of my greater influences. But it's just so easy to use that as a descriptor because immediately when I say Tenacious
Immediate,
D,
yeah.
people know immediately what that sounds like. When I say Danny Elfman, they might go who, but then I go, oh well, if you listen to literally any soundtrack from
Any
a Tim
movie.
Burton movie, it's Danny Elfman. They're like, oh
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's genius. That's genius, dude.
thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
For me, you can go to my website, which is just my name, BillieBryant.com. Obviously, all over Audible with Corinne's books and a few others. I have a couple of kids' books too. So for young listeners who maybe haven't reached this level.
Ready for the
What,
Abandoned
what do you
Crown yet?
What do you mean abandoned crown shouldn't be
Yeah.
read
Not child
to,
friendly?
Yeah.
5-year-olds?
Yeah, we'll put out like the youth version. It's 4 pages long. Um,
Oh goodness.
Redacted.
Abridged.
It's just
Very, very well
89
abridged.
yeah.
pages of just
Yeah.
black text with the occasional word in there. It's like just a pronoun.
The.
Gee.
Well, this has been fun. Again, so nice to meet everybody. I'll give you a wave goodbye and thanks for being here. And we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, this
Thanks
is
for
fun.
having me.
Cool. All right. I'm going to go and stop the recording. Bye.
Bye.